From the News Channel 5 Network, this is MorningLine.
Good morning, everyone. Hi, I'm Nick Beres. It's MorningLine. It's Thursday. Open Phones Thursday, whatever you'd like to discuss with us, as we always on Thursdays, or almost always, unless there's something special that came up where we couldn't. We open up the phone lines for those of you at home to join in the conversation. The difference is that there's no real set topic this morning other than just maybe commenting on news of the week. So 737-7587. It's basically one of my favorite shows of the week because I get to talk with you all. So as usual, I'm going to set the table, throw a few story things out there for you. If anything catches your fancy, you want to comment on that, great. If there's something else I don't mention, feel free to bring it up. I guess today the question is, have you early voted? If not, are you going to vote today? Or will you choose not to vote? I hope you get out. I have not voted yet. I plan on voting today some point during the day, hopefully after I get done with work, but I definitely plan on voting. I'll tell you this, you've seen an awful lot of political ads, a lot of very interesting races, obviously a lot of these local races, some national ones as well, but the races on the judges, the races for some sheriff's positions, obviously a lot going on today. If you have a thought on that, give us a call, how you're going to vote or what you think voter turnout will be. I think it'll be modest. I think always, it seems for me, voter turnout is disappointingly low, okay? But hopefully some of the early voting statistics show quite a few people have gone out and voted already. Just so you're clear on this, most polls in Tennessee, Middle Tennessee, opened at 7. And they will close at 7 p.m. Keep in mind, if you happen to be in line at 7 p.m., they will not turn you away. They will let everyone waiting in that line make their way through, even if it's after 7 o'clock. So get out there and vote if you have a chance. If you have a thought on that, give us a holler. All right, what are some other big stories that we can touch bases on? The lawsuit against Tennessee's refusal to recognize same-sex marriages is now in the hands of a 3-judge panel. And you can sound off on this. What do you think? Should they be recognized here in the state of Tennessee, same-sex marriages? Protesters and supporters gathered outside the 6th Circuit Court of Appeals in Cincinnati yesterday. The panel of judges heard from couples from Tennessee, Kentucky, Michigan, and Ohio who want their state's stance on gay marriage to be overturned. The lawsuit against Tennessee doesn't necessarily change the ban on gay marriage, but instead the state's law that bars recognizing gay marriages performed in the state. Regardless, a lot of people have strong opinions on this. Your take, does it make a big difference for you whether or not a gay couple gets married or not? Does it bother you one way or the other? If you want to sound off and let us know how you feel about that. That 3-judge panel is going to rule on it. And I'm going to tell you right now, I suspect they're going to rule in favor of gay marriage. That's my take on that under the law. That's what I think they will rule. Now, we'll see if that happens or not. Couple other items just to throw out your way that I thought's kind of interesting that we've talked about with shows on MorningLine. The deadline's getting closer to get wine in grocery stores on the ballot in November. They say they've collected 30,000 petition signatures, those supporting it. It's double the number they needed. They have to be validated by August 21st. If voters pass the issue in November, wine will be on the store shelves probably by 2016. We still have a couple of years to wait even on that, and I'll go on the record on this. I'm in favor of wine in grocery stores. Don't have a problem with it. In fact, my take on that is it's a convenience. I like the idea of wine in the grocery stores, and if it goes on the ballot, I'll vote for it. And if you disagree, love to hear from you. What do you think? But I'm in favor of it, and I think it's high time the state of Tennessee does that. On a national scale, the World Health Organization out with new numbers for the Ebola outbreak in West Africa. Boy, do you remember that movie? What was it? Outbreak. I think Dustin Hoffman was in it several years ago. And the book, The Hot Zone, that talked about the Ebola virus and how scary all this stuff is. I don't know if this hits home with any of you, but the Ebola virus is really, really scary. And there it is. That's what it looks like. And if you get it, you bleed out from every orifice. And it's supposed to be just a horrendous death. Now they say some 932 people have died from the virus. I think it's even more than that now. And Saudi Arabia announced that they have a person with it. Well, the thing that concerns me about this is it's spreading. As you know, 2 aid workers that were exposed to it in Africa have returned to the United States. They're at Emory University there in Atlanta being treated. And apparently, there's no cure for the Ebola virus. All they can do, and there is some new drug out there that actually is made from the tobacco crops in Kentucky. It's an extract from that helps, I think, suppress the virus and allows the body's immune system to strengthen to fight it. But there's, like most viruses, there's no cure for the Ebola virus. All you can hope is that you treat the symptoms and your body is strong enough to ultimately fight it off. And in most cases, it's not strong enough. These two people in Atlanta, we'll see. But that is scary stuff. I'll tell you. The Ebola virus, the fact that it's spreading, I don't know. I mean, that ultimately, we always talk about, wars, and we talk about, the conflicts around the world and terrorism and all of this. I've said it before, and I will say it again. What ultimately gets humanity is going to be a bug like that. It's not going to be a nuclear war. It's not going to be chemical weapons. It's not going to be some terrorist or some armed conflict, even though those things all exist. It's going to be a disease. And it's going to be something like the Ebola virus, but the Ebola virus, not that hardy. If there was the virus here on the table next to me, if I didn't touch it or anything, or if it's not going to get to me. You have to have contact with bodily fluids to get it. But there is going to be something as deadly as the Ebola virus, in my belief, at some point that's going to be airborne, and it's going to be hardy, and we're not going to have a cure for it, and it's going to be really bad. And I'm not a doom and gloom kind of person, but I'm telling you, it's coming. All right, a couple other things just to throw your way. Kind of interesting. I thought this was a great story. Did you see local guy died and donated a portion of his estate to Metro Animal Control? How cool is that? In fact, it wasn't just a few $100. $160,000 was left in his estate. This guy apparently was a cat person. And we're talking about James Bomar Talbot. And good for him. He died at the age of 83, left 11% of his estate, which apparently was quite substantial, which is about $160,000 to Metro Animal Care and Control. And he apparently loved cats, and he wanted to leave the money behind to care for the animals. And they haven't decided exactly how they're going to spend it, but that's what they're going to do, is make sure it's spent the way this gentleman wanted it, and he left that for them. And I just think that is awesome. So we talk so much about stray pets, cats and dogs, that he left that much money. And that Mary Elena was telling me, she pulled this video, and I guess it's kind of tough to look at, but I don't mind, Mary, you make the call on this, but I love otters. I think otters are the coolest thing. But did you see the story out of Washington where an otter attacked, and here's the boy, he suffered some injuries. He was pulled underwater in a stream, I guess, there in Washington, and his grandmother went in after him to pull him out. And they don't know why, but the otter grabbed him, pulled him down, attacked, and then attacked the grandmother. They both suffered quite a few wounds and stitches and cuts to their heads and face, and are okay. But when does that happen? Yeah, Mary says there's a shot of the grandmother, and look at those wounds. Pretty nasty, and that's from the hospital. This all from an otter, and there, part of her eye was covered, but she wasn't going to let the otter get away with the child. Makes you wonder. I mean, otters can get rabies or something along those lines. And oh, there we go. Yeah, all right, right. God. Anyway, I like otters. I hated seeing that, but I'll tell you what. And let me see, one other thing before we start getting to some of our phone calls, and we'll have to take our first break. You probably saw the coverage that we had 2 days ago with Richard Parker out of Wilson County pleading guilty to charges of first-degree murder. Remember this? Of course, the big story back when it happened was he delivered a bomb hidden in a lamp to his in-laws' home, and when they plugged it in, it exploded, killing them both, John and Marion Setzer. And we now know that the motive, and what do you think of this? Motive, it always comes down, not always, but so often, to money. He owed them some money, had stolen some money from his in-laws, and somehow in his lame-brained way of thinking, he thought sending them a bomb would solve his problems. Well, to avoid, in my opinion, the death penalty, which is what they were going to seek for him, I think, he ends up pleading guilty to first-degree murder and will serve the rest of his life in prison. What on earth was he thinking? Some of these criminals, and that's what he is. He's a killer. That's a stone-cold killer right now, who sent a bomb to his in-laws, sweet people, and killed them. And he now is going to jail, prison, the rest of his life. And talking about just crazy things that happen with nutty folks just overnight. A guy's waiting in line at a store, or he doesn't want to wait in line at a store to get his cigarettes, so he cuts. He cuts in front of the line. The clerk says, no, get back in line. I'm getting everyone as we go. But this guy needs his cigarettes. He gets mad. He leaves. He comes back with a gun and starts shooting the place up and yelling at them because he did not want to wait in line to buy his cigarettes. What on earth? He walks off. Fortunately, no one gets hit, even though the windows in the store are shot up. Police get a description and pick him up a few blocks away, playing dominoes on the street with some guys. And they pick him up, and now he's charged after they found the gun on him with, shooting these bullets through the store because he didn't want to wait in line to get his cigarettes. Boy. I don't know. The number, 737-7587. Before we take a break, we'll take one of your phone calls. Keep in mind, open it up. Those are some of the stories. I can throw more out there for you, but if there's anything else on your mind, love to hear from you. Let's go to Deborah. Hi, Deborah.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. What's going on?
Well, I wanted to comment on these children that are coming over the border.
Yeah, sure.
I think this is going to make great political talking points. Unfortunately, nothing's going to happen here. And unfortunately, our middle class is going to have to deal with the fallout of what happens. I think our Democrats want to paint them as refugees, and our Republicans want to paint them as opportunists. And the sad part is that there's a little bit of both in this mix.
I agree.
And there's safety in numbers, so that's why the children are coming in droves. But the biggest thing that's going on is America loves its immigrant labor. It always has. This is slave labor. It's a new kind of slave labor. These people are living in the shadows of our democracy. They have no safety. They have poor working conditions. They work unlimited hours. They live in a cloud of fear. They have low wages, or their employer can refuse to pay them at all. So this is slave labor. And every immigrant that has come over here has faced this kind of conditions, working conditions, and we've always righted it. And I think these children coming over are going to right it again.
I'll tell you what, interesting point. You're right, Deborah, about that, if you want to call it a dirty little secret, which is the fact that many of the large employers, depend on this type of labor, or did, maybe not as much now, but they do. I remember Senator Frist, then Senator Bill Frist, saying, listen, we can crack down on the borders, but more importantly, crack down on the employers in this country that are giving these folks jobs, because that's why they're coming. They're coming from a better life and more money. And even though Deborah says these things happen, which they do, it's better for many of them than the life they have in Mexico, which has a lot of problems down there. But the dirty little secret is that a lot of the big buildings and things like this that have been built were built with the budget of money from illegal labor, and some of these big employers want to turn the cheek and not pursue it because it plays such a role in our economy. Now, I hope that's changed, but I can tell you this. I still remember when INS raided the construction being done on the Bridgestone Arena, back before it was Bridgestone Arena, way back when it was just being built where the Predators play. They went in and raided it at one point because there was a suspicion that there were so many illegals working on the construction of that place. And certainly, that's one argument where you keep costs down. You can get this cheap labor, and a lot of the labor, the work they do, by most accounts, the construction and stuff like that is very, very good. Those builders, very, very good, and they get it cheap. That happens. So I'm with you. I don't know how that's going to play out, but it's going to be very political. By the way, before we take our first break, another big story that's going to happen more than 2 months after he was released, and I've been waiting for this, in a prisoner swap, we're finally going to see that Army Sergeant Bo Bergdahl tells his side of the story. He'll be doing so in a meeting with an Army general investigating the mysterious circumstances of his capture 5 years ago. Remember, there's more than a few people out there saying that he was no prisoner of war, no hero in this, that he walked away from the base and was taken hostage because who knows what he was really thinking. And I've kind of come around to that conclusion, and there were men and women sent out to find him, some of whom were injured or killed, in the act of trying to do so. And you wonder, did he put them in this position because he was just careless and took off? I don't know. I want to hear what he has to say about this. But a lot of people think Bo Bergdahl, what he did was wrong. We'll see if he has an explanation for himself. Listen, let's take a break. When we come back, the number 737-7587 is the number. We've got a few lines open. If you're on hold, stay where you are. We'll get to your phone calls and continue talking. It's Open Phones Thursday. Join me. We got lines open. Love to talk to you. We'll be back right after this.